Good evening, everyone. This is a Soft Skills Masterclass for students. My name is Abiola Sunday Awokiyesi. I'm a soft skill instructor at Mindklass. As an introduction to the topic we are looking at, which we'll be looking at all through the month of March, is etiquette. As an introduction, there's a story of a young boy who sells fruit on behalf of his mother. So he was selling fruit on a particular football field, and he met with a man on the field. So the man actually bought some fruits from him and asked him to keep the change. When he was asked to keep the change, he replied the man saying he would neither collect the change nor keep the change because his mom would query him. When he replied, the man was caught. He was surprised, and he asked him to bring his mom. When he eventually brought his mom, the man offered the young boy a scholarship for his education. And that's why we are looking at the topic etiquette, manners and conduct. So we discovered that the manner at which the young boy responded to the gift that was given unto him drew the attention of the man to become more interested in the young boy. And that is one of the value of etiquette. Like we said, like we learned in one of the importance of etiquette, it can help you to promote your career growth. It can promote your career growth. It can take you from wherever you are to where you desire to be. It can take you to the next level. And that's why good etiquette is very important to becoming a better person, to promote and progress in life. At the end of this study, we trust that students will understand the meaning of etiquette, manners and conduct. We understand the basic elements of etiquette, which we have talked about yesterday, the importance of etiquette, which we looked into yesterday. We understand the types of etiquette and also the ways to improve their emotional intelligence. Just like we talked about yesterday, that's the essence, the reason why you are learning etiquette is to improve your emotional intelligence. In the introductory story, you discover that the young boy was able to turn down the gift that was given unto him by a stranger. And this has helped him in one way or the other to say no to pleasure, to say no to the gift that is coming from a stranger. And that got the stranger to become surprised that are there children like this? And because of that, he chose to offer the young boy a scholarship for his education. That's why we are looking at the story today. The word for today, again, is the way is better than the heart. The way the young boy is living, the way the young boy that we looked at in the introductory story is much more important than the act of selling fruits. The way you deal, the way you think, the way you reason, the way you address your examination, the way you talk to mom, the way you talk to strangers is much more important than the act of talking itself, like we talked about yesterday. So the definition which we also looked at yesterday of etiquette is that we said etiquette means the rules of right behavior. The young boy in the introductory story behaved in a right manner compared to every other student who would straight, take and keep the change. If he had received the change and kept it, he could have made it hidden from his mom. And his mom couldn't have queried him like he said. But the point here is that he has developed the habit, the right etiquette of relating and behaving rightly with his parents and a stranger. And as a result of this, that became a blessing to him. Etiquette is a rules of right behavior. And we continue from where we stopped yesterday. We stopped at number 7 yesterday. And we're starting from number 8. And number 8 that we are looking at today is excuse me. Excuse me. This is a word that as a student, you need to learn to use appropriately. You need to understand that this word is often used in place of words like pardon me, of words like I beg your pardon. So it is often used to express the fact that you have inconvenienced someone. So whenever you found that you've stepped on someone's toes, one of the first things you have to do is to tell the person, excuse me. And it proves to the other person that what you have done in error or mistake is not intentional. So how does this apply in our daily living? Number one is that when you found that you need to make a necessary interruption, when mom and dad are discussing, when you need to interfere in a discussion of two strangers, one of the first things that you need to do, the word that you need to say is excuse me. But you have a phone call, excuse me. But someone is looking for you, excuse me. The food is done. So when you say excuse me, it gives the people that you are trying to get their attention, they need to pause. It gives them the idea that you respect their discussion, that you respect their privacy. So you need to learn to use this word in your daily living. Number two is when you found that you need to make a request, when you want to make a polite request, you need to use the word excuse me. So for example, now, someone is smoking in a filling station. You might say, you could have said, this is not a smoking, this is a non-smoking section. That could be disrespectful if you are saying that to an elderly person. But when you say the word, excuse me, this is the non-smoking section. Or excuse me, may I have a glass of water? So this is a polite way of making a request. Another point here is that it is also used to acknowledge an error. When you found that you made an error in an area, in your behavior or your attitude towards someone, when you use the word excuse me, it helps the person to understand that you have acknowledged your error, your mistake. You have acknowledged where you have indeed gone wrong. So for example, excuse me, I didn't realize that you were already expecting me. This is important. Another point here is that it helps you to acknowledge an awkward or strange behavior. That is what is called a fox pass. For example, when someone belch, or when you belch in a public scene, when you belch in class, it is polite for you to say, excuse me. It shows that you have acknowledged that you did what you belched in the public. Number 5 is that whenever you want to leave a conversation, if you leave without saying, excuse me, it shows that you are saying that the conversation is not important. It proves to those in that meeting, in that group, in the conversation, that you are saying that they are not important, that the discussion is not important. But when you say, excuse me, it shows that possibly you respect them. It shows that you acknowledge the relevance of the discussion, of the conversation. So by saying, excuse me, I wish I could chat longer. Excuse me, I need to pick this call. Excuse me, I need to respond to mom's call. So this is a polite way of relating either in the public or among friends. So that is number 5. The number 6 is that when you want to get up from a table, possibly you are having dinner with family and friends. One of the first words that you have to say before leaving the table is please excuse me. Please excuse me. And this is very important. So number 9 of the type of etiquette that we're looking at is the word courtesy, the courtesy no. The courtesy and no. This is a word that should be used carefully, else your good intention may be taken for wrong. So how do you politely turn down an offer? How do you politely turn down a request or an invitation? One of the ways is that you need to use the word no, then you will add no you will add to no, thank you. So by using this word, it helps the other person that you're saying it to not take your good intention for negative. So a simple no, thank you, when it is learned by a young person early in life, it will help the person to develop the ability to say no. to things that are not very relevant. The confidence to say no to things that can be intrusive to his or her plan or goals in life. So you need to learn to say thank you. Another point here is that saying no in the right way shows sign of honesty, especially when it is genuine. And don't forget that honesty is a very important rule in good manners. So when you say no in the right way, with the right tone, with the right facial expression, it helps the person that you are saying it to accept it in good faith. And that is very crucial. Don't forget that one of the importance of soft skills and etiquette in general is to promote peaceful living between you and others. Is to ensure that you are living in peace with the elderly, the parents, with strangers, with your boss at the place of work or at home. And these are very important. Number, how does the cutting no, how does it apply? Before you give answer to any request, one of the beautiful things that you can do is to count to 10. Take time to reflect, take time to think, count the cost, look at the advantages, look at the disadvantages. That is what is called the pros and cons. You evaluate the time that you have, the money, the interest, the resources that you have. Will it be enough for you to accommodate the request that is being given unto you? So by counting to 10, you will be able to think, to reflect, and see if you will be able to accommodate the request that you are given. So this will help you to either learn to say no or accept what is requested of you. Number 2 is learn to accompany no with a positive comment. Don't just say no. For example, if mom asks you that, James, could you please wash the plates? And you said no. It will sound aggressive. It will sound disrespectful to mom and dad. It will sound disrespectful to your boss. If your boss asks you, James, would you please help prepare the PowerPoint for my next presentation? And you said no, boss. It will sound disrespectful, and you might lose your job. So the point here is that when you want to say no, you will need to add a positive comment to it. For example, no, but thanks for asking me. So when James is asked to wash plates, and James wants to say no politely, James will say no, possibly after finishing my assignments. No, I have assignment to do, mom. When I am done, I would wash the plates. So it is more polite and better and more matured when you relate with people in such manner. So you need to add positive comments to no. Another point here is that you need to give a good, honest reason why you wouldn't be doing what you are requested to do. Just like we talk about the case of James. James, could you please sweep the floor? You can't just say no. But when you add a good, honest reason why you are saying no, it helps the person who is giving you the demand or the request to, have a good thought of you. So you can say something like, no, for now, possibly when I'm done with my presentation, possibly when I'm done with my assignments, possibly when I'm done with the work I'm doing currently. So this helps you to give an honest response and a polite answer to a request. Also, when you are saying no, you need to avoid unclear responses. Be decisive. Be decisive. Don't respond by saying hem, or I don't think I can't. This will further open up future possibility. For example, if you have a friend who is pressuring you with a request, and you are saying hem, it shows that you have not decided. It shows that you can possibly change your mind. So one of the attributes of a leader is the ability to decide, is decisiveness. It is not those who are struggling with indecision. So you have to be able So make your decision, take your stand, and stick to your principle. This is a very important. Number 10 that we are looking at today is greetings. Greetings is a very important way of expressing etiquette. Greetings start at home. The Yoruba man naturally will want to prostrate. Hausa man will want to bend down low. An Igbo man would want to, they would tap the back of their hands. So greetings differ from culture to culture. An American man naturally will shook hand either with an elderly or young or old or whoever. So the nature at which greetings takes place, it differs from culture to culture. So we have the informal greeting, like when you say hello, hi, when you say, hey, what's up? So these are the kind of greetings that occur between friends, among colleagues at a place of work. So it is something that is informal. You don't take the informal greetings into the formal settings. For example, it's impossible for James to get to work today. And the first thing James is saying to his boss is, hi, boss, or hey, boss. The boss would react in an awkward manner, and it would be disrespectful of James to say, hey, boss. So you will need to understand the kind of greetings that is peculiar to the formal setting and that which is allowed in the informal setting. Don't forget that you can bring the formal kind of greeting also into the informal, and some of the informal into the formal. When you come very close to your boss, sometimes you might use the word hey boss, hello boss. Thereby, you are bringing the informal kind of or way of greeting into the formal. And that is because of the extent of the relationship, the cordiality, the kind of friendship, not just the boss as subordinate relationship now. You have a kind of friend-to-friend relationship between your boss. So the informal kind of greeting can also come into the formal, or the formal can go into the informal. For example, at home now, you can't tell mom or dad, hi mom, what's up dad? That is not the African kind of culture, although that can work in the Western world. But the point here is that the informal can also come into the formal can go into the informal. So how does this apply? In the formal settings, it is expected of you that when a boss or someone who is superior enters into the room or into the office, it is expected that you stand up. So, or briefly lift yourself up out of the chair, extending your hand and saying, please excuse me for not standing. It is nice meeting you. So, and also when you are greeting, it is important that you keep eye contact. You smile and you keep eye contact with the person that you are exchanging greetings to. Number 3 is you say your greetings with boldness, confidence. Say something like, how do you do? Hello, it's pleasure meeting you. All helps to improve the fact that you are thoughtful, that you are intelligent with regard to etiquette, with the rule of etiquette. You also shake hands. So this helps to ensure that you come in good and not in harm or in any kind of a harmful way. Number 5 is whenever you have to exit a conversation, discussion, you need to exit the right way. Don't exit without using the right language. It is often you can say something like, it's been so good to see you. I have to go now, but I'll call you next week. So whenever you want to exit, you don't just leave the conversation. You don't just, leave, but you close discussion politely. Thanks for the nice discussion. It's been a good time, but I have to go now. So all these are very important when it comes to the rule of etiquette. Number 11 is the etiquette of kissing, hugging, and other affectionate gesture. When it comes to this topic, you have to be very, very careful, because just like I mentioned that culture differs from the way of kissing, hugging, and touching differs from culture to culture. You need to understand people have different attitude. And this attitude different from culture to culture. So it is normal that in your family, possibly between the child and the parents, that you hug or possibly you kiss, if that is a normal way of life. But when it comes to kissing and hugging with stranger in school, in public place, it can raise several issues, especially when it comes to an opposite sex. So as a young person, the best way to avoid issues, to avoid, black labeling, the best way that you can, do is to shake hand, to shake the person that you are meeting possibly for the very first time. So you do this to ensure that there is no disagreement, there is no issue in one way or the other. So if you are meeting a friend after a long time, yes, possibly when you are an adult, you can hug. That is popularly, accepted. But when it comes to kissing and other affectionate gesture, it is better to limit it to shake, a handshake. Number 12 is group discussion. When it comes to group discussion, you may, for example, you may be asked to, make an introduction in a group, or possibly in your school, in your company, in a birthday party ceremony, or religious gathering. Whenever you are in this kind of setting, you will need to understand that disobedience to the rule of introduction etiquette, there are many, and they often involve, number one, when you fail to make an introduction when you are with people who don't know each other. For example, when you are in the midst of two friends of yours, and these two friends do not know each other, if you fail to introduce them to one another, you have simply disobeyed one of the rules of etiquette. And this is the etiquette of introduction. So it behoves you, it is right for you to introduce Cynthia to Ibrahim, because they are meeting for the first time and you are the only one who knows both of them, either formally or informally. So it is right for you, you are in a position to introduce them to each other. That is one of the rules of etiquette. Number two is that some of us often make error when we are making the introduction. So this error involves order. When you are in your company, in a public setting, it is expected of you that when you are introducing the people, possibly the rich, the politicians, those that are important there, you are expected to introduce them according to their order of importance, order of relevance. For example, you are the head boy of your school, and you are given a privilege to introduce the guests and invited guests in your inter-house sports. Now, on this particular day, it is expected that when you want to make the introduction, you introduce the invited guests according to their relevance, their importance. For example, if the most important person there is the governor of your state, or possibly if the most important person there is a founder of the school, it is expected that you introduce the founder of the school first because he's the most important person there. Or you introduce the governor of the state if he is the most significant person there. So from there, you introduce the next person, then go to the next. So you introduce according to the order of relevance. Another point, an error that we often make is forgetting the names or mispronouncing the title of the guest in the environment. So another point here is that it is often discourteous to neglect making introduction at all. So always endeavor and try to make introduction whenever you need to. So how does this apply? Whenever you are making introduction, number one, you need to look at the person you are speaking to eyeball to eyeball. Then turn to the public and make your introduction. Number two is you speak clearly and boldly with confidence. This is important. Introduce orderly, like I've mentioned. You don't start from the low to the top. You start from the top to the bottom. The next point is that you state your introduction with respect. So you introduce with phrases like, I would like to introduce, or may I present the founder of this Akintude College of Education. So you use words that often accommodate respect, politeness. Another example here is that it is considered impolite to make introduction in a form of command, such as Cynthia, shake hands with Mr. Ibrahim. Benson, come here and meet Mr. Adepoju. So these kind of words often, convey disrespect. It conveys impoliteness. So as a young person who is polite, who understands the rule of etiquette, you use words that often convey respect. For example, Miss Cynthia, may I introduce you to Mr. Ibrahim? Mr. Benson, I would like you to meet Mrs. Adepoju. So these are polite way of introducing, making introduction. Number 5 is you introduce people by the names and titles they prefer. So you need to understand the title that people that you're introducing, the title that they bear or they carry. For example, if someone is a doctor, Dr. Ben Carson is in your school, you need to get the title of the person as a doctor. If he is a doctor and you refer to him as Mr. Ben Carson, it would be disrespectful. It would be impolite for you to address him in such manner. So it will be wrong. So you address people according to their title. Mrs. Ibuku Awoshika, Mr. Dangote, Dr. Ben Carson, Professor Wole Soyinka. So these are polite way of addressing and introducing people. Also, if possibly you are in the midst of your friends, it is even more interesting and polite to start a conversation when you introduce two people who do not know each other, when you introduce them to each other. So one of the beautiful and interesting things that you can do is to start a conversation. For example, you just introduce Williams to Ade. So after introducing Williams to Ade, you can start off a conversation by saying, Williams, Ade is a fan of Chelsea. So he might like to hear your points on the decision of Chelsea's owner. So this will help to keep the conversation between these two acquaintances to become deepened. And therefore, the three of you now would become a more close friends. Number 7 is listen carefully and focus on names. For example, if you are the one who is being introduced to, if you are the recipient of introduction, you will need to listen to the name of those that you are introduced to ensure that you keep their name in memory, because it will be disrespectful. It will be a lack of consciousness when you are being introduced to someone and almost immediately you have forgotten the person's name. So we need to pay attention and to ensure that you keep the name of the person to heart. So respond graciously. Do not respond awkwardly. So respond politely. You can respond with words like, how do you do? Hello, Akin, it's nice to meet you. I'm pleased to meet you. So these are polite way of being introduced or receiving or responding to introduction. Don't forget that the word for today is the way is better than the act. The way you do things, the way you speak, the way you relate with your parents, the way you relate in school, the way you discuss in your company, your communication between the boss and the subordinates. The communication with your friends is much more important. The communication, the way you communicate with a stranger, like the introductory story that we looked at, is much more important than the communication act itself. But thank you very much for joining today's section. The topic of our discussion this evening is, which of these etiquettes are you guilty of and how do you intend to improve on them? So we have been discussing a number of etiquettes. So which of these etiquettes do you think you are guilty of, and what do you think? How do you think you are going to improve on them? Mr. Ima, you have the floor. Mr. Ima, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, very well, loud and clear.
Okay. The one I know I'm guilty of is forgetting names. I sometimes forget names now. When it's time to introduce that. Yes, can you remind me, please? Something like that, and I'm very embarrassed. I know
Indeed.
I'm guilty of that.
Indeed. So thank you very much. Mr. Okonlawon, with you. Is there anyone you want to say you are guilty of, and then how you intend to improve?
Okay. Sorry. Excuse me,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
It's Emmanuel. Please excuse me.
Okay.
I didn't.
Mr. Emmanuel, you didn't mention how you are going to improve.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. That's why I said. Please excuse me. So, how I intend to improve. I discovered that when you relate somebody's name with something or an experience that you have with them, it will be very easier to remember subsequently. When I get somebody's name, try as much as possible. If it's to sing their name or recite it or any other measures, just to make sure so that way I can.
I didn't really get your contribution, please. I didn't get you loud and clear. How do you intend to improve?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I said subsequently I would try other measures of remembering them. Possibly I'll recite their name like 10 times after meeting them, and then try to relate the person or the experience that I have with the name so that I can remember subsequently.
Thank you very much. That is a nice way of addressing the challenge. So, Mr. Muti Okolawon, do you want to point to any etiquette which you think you are guilty of, and how you intend to improve?
For now, I have nothing to say.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So I want to say thank you to everyone who are present here this evening. Thank you for being part of today's class, and it is a delight that you are here and you are part of this class. And we have talked about a number of type of etiquette, and we'll still continue all through the months of March. So I'd like to ask if there's anyone in this class who wants to ask a question. Is there anybody? Does anybody who have a question?
Okay. None from my end. None.
Okay. Any other person? Does anybody want to ask a question? Okay, in the absence of question, we'd like to call it a day. I want to say thank you all for being part of today's class, and we love you all from Mindklass. Thank you. Have a splendid weekend.